Welcome to the Quest Forums channel. We have been approaching the end of our study in the Gospel of Mark. In chapters 11 and 12, we've seen the conflict that Jesus enters with the chief authorities of Judea. And in chapters 14 and 15, we're going to see the result of that conflict in Jesus' crucifixion. But here in chapter 13, we have an aside that is a very difficult chapter. This is the longest passage of Jesus' teaching in the book of Mark. And it all concerns prophecies for the future, things that are going to happen after Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension. And what makes it so difficult is the fact that it is not easy from moment to moment to know exactly which topic Jesus is talking about, because we have two here. He's discussing the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, but he's also talking about his return, his second coming, and the end times. And there are a lot of different opinions on how to try to work that out, and I'm not even going to try for myself, because I don't want to get lost in those weeds. What's really important here is the principle, the attitude that Jesus wants to recommend to his followers, which includes us today. And that is to be on the watch, to be alert for his return, but not to be looking for particular signs or to try to determine the exact time. And so this starts with verses 7 and 8, where Jesus talks about war and political blowouts and natural disasters and those sorts of things. And people have oftentimes, throughout Christian history, they have looked at periods where these things have been occurring as a sign that Jesus must be about to return. That has not been true, because that was not Jesus' point. He was saying that these things are basically normal, unfortunately, and that's why they're the beginnings of birth pains, but they are all light in comparison to what is going to happen at the end. And they therefore do not actually point to the end. And this becomes even more clear with the parable that he tells at the end of the chapter, from 33 to 37, where he talks about a master who goes on a journey and gives work for his servants to do until his return, without telling them when that return is going to be. If they are caught sleeping on the job, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's the point that Jesus is making, is that we don't know. And we don't get to know when he's going to come back. Because if we did, then we might feel like we could relax until that time arrived. Instead, the watch that we are meant to be on is the fact that he could come at any moment. And because he could, we should always be working on the tasks to which he has set us. We should always be seeking sanctification, and we should always be evangelizing. We should recognize the fact that whatever the details are going to be, Jesus is going to return. And because he's coming back, that means that there will be judgment for the world. That for the people who've decided they want nothing to do with Christ, that they are going to be separated from him for eternity. And we don't want to see that, or we certainly shouldn't. And so we should be about the work of persuading people of the danger in that and the goodness of knowing God, with it in mind that the end could be at any moment. And so we should really be working hard in order to be that persuasive force and be able to show the love of Christ. So again, for me, I think that this really is the point of this passage. That's what it means to be watching for the Lord. And I know a lot of people disagree with me. What I will say is I don't have any time for people who think that they can precisely predict when Christ is going to come back. That's never worked out. It's never going to work out. That's explicitly what he says here. But there are other people who think that it's possible to see movement towards the end times. And that's a little different. Just because I'm not confident to make a guess on that, I can't say for sure that it's impossible. And so if you have views that run that way and you want to share that here, go ahead and do so. Or if you just have questions on this passage or somewhere else in the Bible, feel free to leave any of that in the comments. Thanks so much for checking out this video, and until next time, keep looking up.